Mm-mm-mm-mm. Welcome to the Talent Show. What's going on, y'all? So good to see you, be in front of your screen, be in your ears, and be inside your vehicle, whatever it is. So good to be here, back on the show. Apologize for missing the last 2 weeks, just getting ready for finals and everything going on with school and outside stuff has just been hectic. But so glad to be back with you guys. I hope all is well. Per usual, thank you guys for your support. Only 8 episodes through season 5, and the growth and support has been tremendous. So thank you guys for allowing me to do what I love, but also allowing other people to come on, and giving them their love and the flowers, for sharing their story, their advice, their wisdom, blah, blah, blah. But thank you guys so much. It means the world to me. And as we continue to move forward, if you're watching, real quick, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I watch these analytics. So many of you guys are watching and tuning in, liking and commenting, but you're not subscribed. So please subscribe. That helps us move forward and continue evolving and allowing more people to come on and share their stories. So if you could please press that subscribe really, really quick. Thank you so much. And enough of me yapping. Let's introduce our guest for today's episode, Miss Naomi Woolfolk. Woohoo!
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you for joining me. Before we kind of get going, just really quick, how are you doing? How's life treating you right now?
I'm doing good. The weather is getting warm in Mississippi. I'm from Virginia, so it doesn't really quite get this hot, but I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it.
That's good. Okay, so Naomi, really quick before we kind of dive into the conversation and get to know you and have a conversation with you, really quick for people watching or listening, could you give people a quick breakdown and introduction about you? Just you kind of talk about where you're from, what you're doing right now in your life, and just maybe some things you've been able to do across your lifetime to get you where you are today.
Okay, so like he's already said, my name is Naomi Woolfolk. I am from Woodbridge, Virginia. It's about a suburb outside DC, about 30 minutes in that area. I've grown up running track and field since I was 6 years old in a club team called Dell City Lightning. It's been my pride and joy for my entire life. My dad was a coach for that team. My best friends' dads were all coaches too for the team. So it was always like a family. And I think that's why I gravitated so much toward track and field. I also have a twin sister. She is my bestie. It's hard being away from her here in college, but we're surviving. Let's see what else. I'm currently a sophomore here at Ole Miss. I'm excited for the year to be wrapping up, but a little scary for things moving forward. Things are starting to get a little too real. I'm studying sports management and I'm enjoying that so much, learning so much about sports. And since I've been around it my entire life, just getting the opportunity to learn about the outside of sports has been really eye-opening and stuff like that. But I guess, that's a little bit about me.
I'm gonna be untraditional with kind of how I start. And you may or may not have an answer to this question. That's okay if you don't. But do you have an end goal? Like, is there something that you want to do, in whether your career, in terms of if you want to continue being in the track world, if you want to do something with your major, like, do you have an end goal? Like, is there something that you want to do once you get to a certain point?
I would say I kind of have two, depending on where life takes me.
Yeah.
In terms of athletics, I would love to have the shot of going to the Olympics. Yeah. And that would be a major end goal for me. I would say that if I made it to the Olympics, whether I medaled or not, that would kind of be like, that's enough for me, honestly. Yeah. Since I've been in sports since I was about 6 years old, it's like, I think that might be like my cap. But if I had a shot at medaling, I would probably keep trying to try and get that. But I'm actually haven't quite thought about the idea of sport ending in my life, but I think that's why I also want to work within it, so that might help me transition better. But for career wise, I've been really thinking about being a part of those government initiatives or other big organizations to help young people around the world experience sport. That has been kind of sparked my interest the last couple months, especially me growing up in sport. I understand the importance of having sport in your life, and I really want to help those young people who are unable to experience sport due to location or funding or just culture in their area to have that opportunity.
Love that. Okay. And kind of, again, being untraditional for what I usually do. If you don't mind, could you give a piece of advice to a young lady that's in high school, junior high, that is aspiring some type of work in the track and field, whether it's, being a sprinter or, a thrower like you? What advice would you give to someone in terms of how they could reach the potential of wanting to be at a D1 college like you are? What advice would you give someone that maybe, 5-6 years ago you were at in terms of getting to where they want to be one day?
I would say, because with track and field, what I've always said, it only takes one. It only takes one throw, one race, one jump, anything to spark the interest of a coach on a high level. So even if it's your last meet, your state track meet, this is the last time you're ever going to compete in high school, still hold on to that dream, even if you haven't committed to a university. I didn't commit until the week before my state track meet. And that has taught me so much that it's really not everything is going to happen as you may seem.
Mm-hmm.
And things can happen in a very quick instance. So I would tell them that it's okay if you're in a slump right now, even if it is toward the end, because it's never really the end if you keep trying, if you keep your head down, if you stay determined, and all the while still having fun in that sport. If you do not love it, I would say do not continue to pursue it on the next level. But if you do with all your might, I say that the love for something can take you very far, and it might open up doors that you never thought might be open for you.
Yes, ma'am. I like that. That's you gave career advice for someone that's pursuing to kind of be in the shoes that you are, but that's also life advice that I hope someone can take and use in their life. So thank you for sharing that. I want to go back now. Virginia. What was that like growing up in Virginia? And as well, kind of mixing in, you mentioned your family a lot, and that's something that's very big on what I talk about a lot in my family, how they're my backbone. Simply, what have they meant to you, and how have they inspired you to be the young lady that you are today?
Well, I'll say yes, my family too is my backbone. Little rundown: I have 2-parent household, mother and father, a twin sister, 2 older siblings, an older sister and an older brother. We're about 8 and 7 years apart in age, so they're kind of like my second parents too. So growing up in Virginia, in the area I'm in, it's not a whole lot going on. It's kind of similar to Oxford. You always have to make your own fun or find your own activities. I think that's why we all kind of gravitated towards sport. There's really nothing else to do, which was also a good thing, gave us structure. My dad is a preacher at a small church in Washington, D.C. He just recently became the pastor of that church, and he's loving it. But he's been a preacher our whole lives, and faith has been the biggest thing I think that has held our family together. I would say each of us are kind of different, but we all complement each other in a way. But the one thing that I think is our center is definitely our faith and our love for Jesus Christ. My dad is always mistaken as a military man, which I find that very funny, but he's a very structured man, but he always also has so much love to give. He's never going to let any of his children stray. He's always going to be there no matter what we get into. My mother is pretty much the same way, but she's a little more laid back. She loves flowers. And if you can kind of think about the kind of care it takes to make flowers beautiful and grow, that's kind of how she is with me and my siblings. She takes time and care and pays very close attention to detail. She's always going to be there, always going to know what's up with us, even if we don't know what's up with us. So it's our family, I would say we're very close, even with our extended family. If we were to do anything, my idea of a great summer day is just us sitting out on the back porch, doing a cookout, talking, playing games and stuff like that. Just, my family is my pride and joy. They are my center. They're my heartbeat. They're why I do what I do.
Yes, ma'am. You mentioned something that I wrote down in my notes when I do my notes, which are usually brief, but I just wrote Jesus. And I'm glad that you brought that up, and I'm now more intrigued to know that now that your father's a pastor. First of all, kind of just what does that relationship mean to you in terms of having a relationship with Christ.
Mhm.
But as well, I'm also very intrigued because this has been in another theme of the fifth season so far is just Jesus in general. And I've had literally every guest so far have a conversation with them, and I had a really in-depth one on the last episode. But for you, was that transition from leaving high school and coming to Mississippi, was that transition in terms of keeping that faith and having a strong relationship a little tough when you kind of moved and transitioned to college? Because I'm always intrigued to learn how people's move to college changes maybe the way they adapted and how they kind of got their relationship strengthened, weakened at one point and had to grow it back with Jesus Christ.
I would say it went like I wavered a little bit. And then I quickly snapped back. Yeah. I would say like about my first 3 months here, I didn't have that person in the back of my head, being my father, reminding me to like do my Bible study or inviting me to prayer or making sure I'm up and out for church. Yeah. And in high school, I would say, especially like just growing up with a preacher as a father, like sometimes religion felt like a chore to me. Yeah. And it never really caused me to rebel, but almost caused me to not look forward to it in a way. Yeah. And the first 3 months I was here, I didn't know anybody coming here like at all. And because I did commit so late, I didn't have that time to forge those connections with my teammates that were also coming in with me. Like I had no idea who my roommate was, who she was also another thrower on the team. But my teammates now, they're all very faith-based. Yeah. And those first 3 months just getting to know each other, like we were all freshmen coming in very bright-eyed and trying to experience a whole lot of things. And when I came in, I had issues with my hip. And in high school, I had a hip surgery, and now it's the other hip. And about 2 weeks in, I found out that I had torn my labrum in my left hip, which I had already done in my right hip. And I was feeling very low because I'm like, this was supposed to be my fresh start. This was supposed to be my chance, my new beginning. Yeah. And I felt very low. And what actually brought me, back tighter in my faith were my teammates, because they were all very faith oriented and also kind of in the same situation as of like being in a new space. Mm-hmm. And they were like, well, you guys want to go to church? And we checked out one of the Pine Lake colleges. Mm-hmm. I think it was on Wednesdays last year, but we went there, and that was kind of the start. I realized that my faith is something that I've always leaned on, and how I can't let that go now that I'm away from home, and how I'm probably going to need it even more now here than I did at home. And my faith journey has honestly been booming, I would say, since then. Like, my heart has been on fire for Christ more than I've ever felt in high school. I think coming to college almost forced me to make that decision for myself. Yeah. I grew up in a Baptist church, and I don't know like how you've experienced, but I got baptized when I was 8. Mm-hmm. And I did make that decision on my own. But like I look back and I'm like, I don't even know what I was thinking. Yeah. Like, I knew I loved the Lord, but like I also like don't even know where my head was. Yeah. And now it's like I feel like I have this whole new understanding of Jesus Christ, and it's like, wow, like I really needed him, and I really needed these connections, and I truly feel in my heart that God brought me here for a reason, to connect with these girls, to be in this environment here. I feel like Jesus Christ is everywhere here in Oxford. Like that's not really something I thought I would find, but everybody here is so kind and so warming, and it's rarely that I meet somebody who is not a follower of Christ or their heart is not on fire for Christ. Also, my freshman year, I started attending Fellowship of Christian Athletes, FCA, and that community there has been great. They have been a backbone here for me. They have kept me steady. It's somewhere I can go every Monday and kind of reset myself for the week, and it's been so great. So I would just say like this transition, like from high school to college, forced me to grow up a bit, forced me to make some decisions for myself. And I definitely could have made some decisions where I would have strayed far away, but I knew what I wanted for my life, and I had to remember the things that my father and my family instilled in me. And I realized that like I want to keep this momentum going. I don't want to deter myself any longer, even in the midst of adversity.
Yeah. Thank you. That's real. Like you kind of talked about, I got baptized when I was 8, and I really don't even remember. Like I remember the day, but like I don't remember the moment. And as I've gotten older, it's like I don't know. I won't say it. I wish I could go back and didn't do it then, but like I wish that just things kind of would differently. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I don't think I would have gotten through the things that I've gotten through without that moment happening. And so that's relatable. And I kind of want to ask you another just question for advice, if you would give to someone watching, kind of specifically towards a college student. If what would you tell them? And they're in that midst of freshman year, and they've kind of diverted and en routed towards socializing and being in school, and if you know, have just not been able to focus on Jesus, or they're in a new environment. They don't have that circle that they had, for so many years. What would you tell them in terms of how to kind of navigate getting a strong relationship and keeping that strong relationship with the Lord?
I would say, one, sit down with yourself and write out what you want for your life.
Yeah.
Write out your priorities and how you want your life to look. Mind you, God might not have that in store for you, but have that idea in your head and then make a decision on what do you think that needs to get you there. Some people dream big and some people dream small. And I would say when I took that time and I tried to focus on what I wanted to do in my life, I realized that I cannot do this without Jesus like by my side. And then I decided, I was like, I just need one thing that's steady. Like I need to find one thing that I can do every day regularly that will get me one step closer to God. And my thing was the devotional. And that was taking 10 minutes out of my morning to read something and write down prayers. And that was my one thing that was steady. So I would say if you are struggling and you want to kind of bring yourself back to center a bit, just find one thing that's steady and align it with what you want to do in your life. Pray about what you want out of your life, because prayer is very powerful. And with even like the last couple months, I've kind of realized how I need to be praying even more, like praying about the little things, because prayer can really take you a long way. And also, too, if you feel like you have made decisions that you aren't proud of or you don't think the Lord would be proud of, like that is okay, because at the end of the day, He is a forgiving Father.
Yeah.
And if you sit there and ask God and to forgive you for your sins and truly actively try to be better, like that's even more than just you know going to your regular day without even thinking about Him. Like he will be there for you through the midst of it all. And yeah, like it is okay. And also, being a Christian doesn't mean you can't have fun either. Like it is okay to socialize, but just understand that what you do is going to kind of reflect on who you are. So just understand, like, you don't want to make decisions that's going to reflect someone that is not a believer of Christ, but you can still have fun. So try not to, I would say, try not to doubt yourself or put too much pressure on yourself, and give yourself grace, because the Lord gives it to us. We should be able to give it to ourselves as well. But also to just find that constant thing in your life, and slowly but surely it'll increase. You just need to start.
Thank you. I can see the reflection of your parents and your older siblings in you. You kind of, as I say, you have the older people testimony. Like you speak a lot of life. So thank you for sharing that. I want to go back. You kind of mentioned earlier you started your track career at 6 years old, and that's kind of rare for people at that young age to start and continue doing it as well. So for you, just what was that like growing up? What was that dedication and love like? And I also kind of specifically, you're a thrower.
Mhm.
When did that start for you? Was that something that you kind of picked up when you first started? Was that something that you kind of became a late bloomer in? When did that start for you?
So yeah, starting track at 6, it was almost like I didn't know it was hard work then, like at all. I started running. I did everything under the sun, honestly. Sprinting, jumping, long distance. I would cry my way around the track because I honestly did not like running at all, but I like being around the people.
Yeah.
So I think the people is what brought me. But then when I was 8 years old, I found throwing
Mhm.
by our club coach. His name was Coach Bear, and he was like, And he came to me like with the most warmest heart, and he didn't mean anything by it, but he was like, Naomi, he was like, are you tired of losing yet? Because I was losing every race, like honestly, like, but I would lose with a smile on my face, or sometimes in tears. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I am. And he was like, well, how about you just come on and try this? And um, yeah, I was about 8 years old, and I tried out throwing. And honestly, I can't remember a day or a summer where I wasn't throwing. Like it is just like engraved, like in my brain. Like I can't remember life before throwing, honestly. Um, but it was fun. I would say, like you said, it is not likely for most people to start early on and continue on. But because that's that idea of like early specialization and how burnout can happen and things like that. But with the club that I was in, they didn't apply that pressure. It was almost like they let us pick what we wanted. They let us gravitate to what we wanted to gravitate to. And of course, they were still coaches. They wanted us to learn the proper and right technique. But if I was tired and I wanted to stop, they would let me stop. If I didn't want to throw that day and I just wanted to go run, they would let me go run. If I if I just wanted to come to practice and sit there and talk, they would just let me sit there and talk. Like there was structure, but to an extent, because I think all the coaches were fathers of young girls at that. They were all girl dads. So it's like I think each of them had a more delicate touch to things, and they understood, in the end, hard work is going to pay off. But at the same time, they knew that they couldn't push us to the brink as children and it would end up nowhere. So I would say like throwing for me kind of got more serious when I was about 13. Because even then, like they didn't let me start weightlifting until I became a teenager. And that's another thing. And things got more serious. And when I was in middle school, I knew that I wanted to do this for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I was primarily a shot put thrower and a discus thrower. And yeah, I worked hard, and that's what I wanted to do, to put a smile on my face. Of course, there were definitely times where I was in a slump and I felt like nothing was going my way. Like I was always it was very frustrating. I was always that person that could do the perfect drill, could have the perfect practice throw, but in the moment at a meet, when it counted, it didn't show.
Yeah.
And that was very frustrating for me, especially on my mental state. And even like back then, like I remember leaning on God, but also leaning on my community with track and field, because the girls that I really gelled with, who I'm still friends with till this day, they all were kind of going through that similar thing. They all made the realization that they wanted to be in this for the long haul. And they were also, having ups and downs, but that is just life. That is just sport. Like that is how things happen. And I would say when I was in high school, like I knew that the clock was on. Like my freshman year, I wanted to go in wheels blazing. Hold on, I'm gonna go back for a second. Like in middle school, when I was in the sixth grade, I tried out for my middle school track team, and I actually did not make the team. Even though, like in throwing, like I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I was a lot better than some of those girls throwing.
Yeah.
But middle schoolers and the coaches, like they don't really suspect you to know a lot, especially in the throwing events. And the coach goes up and he was like, you guys need to do this technique for the tryout. But that was not my technique. There's like multiple techniques you can do. And I'm like, that was not my technique. But I was really quiet and I was shy, and I didn't want to like cause any drama or anything like that and say, well, can I do this instead? Even though simply me just saying that probably would have changed that trajectory. But I did what he told me to do, and it didn't go far. And also, like, I'm a sixth grader. I'm going up against seventh and eighth graders. Like, I'm little too. So, and I did not make the team. And like, it's always been a thing with me and my dad. He was like, it's all right. He was like, just know when you grow up and you do great things, that Coach Freeman is gonna be sorry that he never put you on the team. And I would just say those losses, I was devastated, man. I was so devastated. Even though I was doing so much more like on the club circuit, I was still devastated. Like I wanted to be a part of that so bad. But those losses, I will always hold on to, because they're the things that fuel my fire, honestly, to want to show up every day. And also it helped me break out of my shell, because it taught me a very valuable lesson that when you keep quiet and don't say the things that you know, or don't voice your opinion even though you know it's a valuable one, that you will miss out on opportunities and doors will shut right in your face. And I took that to a lot of what I do now. And I make sure that I speak up when I need to speak up, and I need to advocate for myself through all times. And that's a lot what I tell the younger girls and guys that are throwing on my club team now, that advocating for yourself is one of the biggest things that you're going to need to do. And it will change the way you live your life, like, honestly. But yeah, like when I got to high school, I was ready to blow every door open. I was like, I am going to be the best person here. I'm going to make this team the first time, and I'm going to show them all. And high school came, and I would say, like, in my area, throwing is not huge. So it wasn't difficult for me to beat most of the people.
Yeah.
But I still wasn't beating myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that I struggled with that a lot. I was not measuring up to the athlete I knew I could be. And it was hard to kind of like relate to people or explain to people why I was upset even when I was winning, because it's like, this is not me, like, at all. And then I think this is post, like right before COVID started, we had our regional track meet, and I was, I think, indoors, and I was supposed to win it all, and I caved. Like, I threw the worst meet I ever could have threw, and I had my first panic attack. And that, like, it scared me like a lot. And I was like, I didn't know what was happening. I couldn't breathe. I was crying. I was hyperventilating. And who I call my uncle now, he was one of the officials. He came and found me, and he calmed me down, and he told me everything was going to be okay. He slowed my breathing down, and he sat with me for an hour in silence. Mind you, I had no idea like who this man was, but he had always been there, you know, kind of in the shadows as an official on that circuit. And he just came and sat with me for an hour. And that's another thing about like track and field, like, though it is an individual event, a lot of people take notice of you. And I feel like track meets are almost like a big family reunion. Like, you know, people from like across different states and across different schools and stuff like that. And everyone's very warming and welcome, and everybody wants to see you win. And track to me is like just having a family, you know, in mind. But after that first panic attack, I decided to prioritize my mental health and what I was going through. And I took those steps and measures to get my mind right, because it has been hindering me for like a couple years. And I knew that I wanted a change. And then it comes time for like my junior year, and I end up tearing my labrum in my right hip. And I was like, this could not have come at the worst time. Like I said, like my freshman year, I'm trying to blow the doors open. I'm trying to get looks early on so I don't have to worry about it. Like, I know the athlete I am. I know I can be great. Things aren't showing up. I'm dealing with panic attacks, and now I tear my labrum in my hip and I have to get surgery. And that is when I think my relationship with God really started to form for myself, and not for like my dad, I guess. Like, my dad has always like been instilling that stuff in me, like telling me I needed to go to church, doing Bible study. But that point forward, like, I started really wanting it for myself. And going through that time, it was difficult. It really was. And I also knew that coming back that I was going to need to change. I love my high school coaches dearly, and they supported me every step of the way, but I needed a change. And a man named Rodney Johnson, he came and said that he would take me on. He was another coach. He was like in Alexandria, about 30 minutes from where I lived. And he said that I will help you get to where you need to go. And that man changed my life. Like, he became like a second father to me. I got out of surgery. He was in the gym with me 3 weeks later, lifting upper body. He never let me down. He always showed up, even though he coached at a school that was about 30 minutes out the way. He would come to me. I would go to him, and he put the time and effort into me, even though he had his own high school kids he was working on. Like, in their eyes, like, he's coaching the competition. But like I said, like, track is just that family. Everybody wants to see everybody win. And he put that time and effort into me. And without him, I would not have been here, honestly. He was the first person to really recognize the kind of athlete I was that I always thought I was, but couldn't really show it. And he was like, girl, the amount of potential you have in you, like, you can do anything. And he really brought that spark back into me after my surgery. Like, I was down and I didn't know if I was going to be able to get back up, but he was able to instill that motivation back into me. And he rode with me all the way up until the day of my state championship. And he had his own athletes in there, but he was there coaching them and coaching me. And it was just a joy to see. Luckily, I was able my senior year of high school. So let's see. I committed to Ole Miss the week before my state championship, and then my state championship, and I won my state championship, the first and only state championship I ever won. And then I had graduation the following week. Like, those last 3 weeks of high school, like, I was on a high. Like, I was so excited, and because mainly, first, of course, the commitment, I didn't know what I was doing. I was holding on by the grace of God that he would bring me through. When it came time for, like, academic decision day, my dad was like, just don't put a deposit down anywhere. He was like, don't make a decision. He was like, I know what's coming. Coach Rodney, he was like, I know it's coming. My high school coaches, they're like, I know it's coming. And everybody sat there and believed in me. And I think that was what I needed at that time. And without that, I really do not know where I would have been. But I had a community that surrounded me and embraced me with everything and all the lows and all the highs. And they knew that I could be at a big school. And I'm trying to think. I was getting calls and it just was not right. There were smaller schools, and there's no hate to smaller schools. I really appreciate the time and commitment that those coaches did in recruiting me, but I knew it just wasn't quite right. Everybody, those smaller schools, they wanted me to be like the center of their program. And they were like, you can take our program to these heights and this and the third. But how I saw myself as an athlete at that time, I was like, I am no one's center of nobody's program. I was like, I am nowhere near where I want to be as an athlete. I was like, I know I have potential, but I was like, I know there's still a lot more work for me to do. And I kind of knew I needed to be in an environment where I was going to be in the bottom and where I was going to have to fight my way up.
Yeah.
And coming to Ole Miss with that, I was there's Jasmine Mitchell, Jelani Davis, Shay, Teddy, Janaea Stewart, like Raven Saunders was here. It was just like there were so many greats here, and it's just like that's where I need to be. And Coach Smith calls me, and he was like, "I see the potential in you," and I was like, "That is what I needed." It's just like how Coach Rodney was the first person to say, "I see the potential you have in you," and here goes Coach Smith saying these same words, and I was like, "This is where I need to be." He takes so much care and attention to his athletes. Him and Dempsey, I appreciate them so much. They have taught me so much, and they have put the time and effort into me without even knowing on paper what I could really do. And making the decision to come here has been one of the best. Like I said, the group I came in with supported me hands down. The coaches here support me hands down. And I mentioned earlier that last year, my freshman year, I was dealing with my hip. And that took away shot put and discus from me. That was my main events in what I did. And that was taken away because just where that hip injury is, I could not compete on it doing shot put and discus. Like, it just was not possible. But I could do hammer. and I touched a hammer maybe 2 times in high school just to kind of pick it up. It's not a thing in Virginia at all. There's really no meets in Virginia where you can throw it because they just don't do it. And they sat there and they taught me hammering because they wanted me to have that experience of being a freshman and also the opportunity to go to the under 20 world championships. And they were like, we're going to teach you hammer. And they sat there and they taught me. And it's just I'm so thankful for them for bringing me in. And even in the midst of that injury, 2 weeks in, they didn't just say, oh yeah, no, like we're going to sit you down or this is not going to work anymore. They sat there and they taught me a whole new event. And I'm so grateful for that because that event is now like the love of my life. Like I love throwing hammers so much. It is everything that I could have wanted. Like I'm able to go fast. I'm able to be very technical and show power and explosion. And that's kind of always been the athlete I've been. And hammer is just so great. I love learning it. I love competing in it. And yeah, hammer has kind of opened up a new door for me. So like earlier you asked like, did I get started throwing later in life? Like where I am now, the athlete I am now, I would say later in life because the event that I'm doing, I only started last year.
Yeah.
But you know, all the throwing events are connected in a way, and they all kind of make each one better. But yeah, hammer, I just recently started last year, and I could not have asked for a better start to it. Honestly, things were going really good last year, but you know, like hammer is one of those events you have to be very confident in it, and that just comes with time, and very technical too, and that comes with time. So, you know, just putting the time in last year. The U20 championships didn't go as I expected, but I was happy that I was able to get through the year. Honestly, being able to compete, going to SECs, representing my school, like I had a blast. Honestly, learning a new event and not having to sit and look out on the outside. But last year when my season was over, I had to get the left hip fixed, which was fine. You know, I'd been through that process before, and yeah, during that recovery process, the staff here, they were amazing. They helped me tremendously. I just couldn't wait to get back, honestly. And I knew that I was probably going to have to redshirt maybe my indoor season, so things wouldn't just be super rushed. But when I started getting back into weightlifting, I ended up having appendicitis and had to get an appendectomy done. And that also set me back earlier this year. So the coaches just decided to redshirt me this entire year. But it has been a good year, a year of development and a year of growth. And I honestly think I needed this year just because I'm still, you know, new in the event, but things are working so well. And I'm very excited to see what is to come and to see my hard work actually pay off. I'm having so much fun out here, honestly, learning this event and being in this community and just being an athlete here. And yeah, I think things have been good in the rocking and rolling. So yeah.
I was going to ask you briefly talked about it, but could you talk about the process of you coming to Ole Miss? Like, you know, when did you actually get your first offer? And you talked about some of those little schools. What was that process like? And kind of how did you end up deciding on Ole Miss? Did you even come to Oxford before you kind of committed? Like, what was your process in choosing Ole Miss?
Yeah. So prior to committing to Ole Miss, I had offers from a school called Townsend in Maryland, and a school called it's University of Akron, I believe. Yeah, University of Akron. And I was still having calls here and there, but nobody had like really offered me officially. Those were the only two schools that offered me. And I'd been waiting off on making that decision because I just knew that something bigger was coming and I wanted something bigger to come. And let me think. I think it was about April. I think I had my first conversation with Coach John. I was posting my videos on a Throws account I had created for recruitment purposes. And I believe they had seen my videos. And I think my coach, Coach Rodney, he had reached out to them too. And he gave me a call. And it was really fast, honestly. He was like, well, we seen your videos, and he was telling me about the program and what he had envisioned. And we just had a really good conversation just about his training program, what he sees in his program, what he sees in me, where I fit in it. And he was like, at the end of the phone call, he was like, well, I'd like to set up a visit. And I was like, okay. So 2 weeks later, I came to Oxford, and I honestly fell in love with it. It was so just calm, so peaceful. Not a whole lot going on. It reminded me a lot of Virginia. But what really sold me here was the coaching and what they could see for me. They created this grand picture, honestly, one that I could never have seen in myself. Like, they saw a potential for me to do a lot of great things here, and that is what I wanted. But that's barring from, like, there's going to be a lot of hard work. And my coach likes to say he's the anti-recruiter, and he's going to tell you all the hard work that you're going to have to put in. And at the end of it, he was like, either you're going to run screaming or you're going to open it with open arms. And I accepted it with open arms, because that is always a place where I thought I needed to be. Honestly, anywhere in life, I know I'm going to need to be in an environment where I'm challenged, because at the end of the day, it's only going to make me better. So yeah, honestly, like, it was about a month long process, very quick. Had the first conversation, came down for a visit. When I landed in Virginia after my visit, I got a text message, and he offered me a spot on the team. And probably, I think the next day, I accepted it. And that's about it.
I've always been curious because, I think a lot of people, when they hear sports, they think all workouts are the same. When they hear, baseball, they think baseball trains like football, and they hear track, they think all track athletes train the same. And I know that's not the truth. So for you, what's like a workout like? Like, what do you usually work on? What are maybe your sets and reps? Like, what do you do in terms of getting prepared for your body to make sure you're at the highest peak that you can be?
Well, I would say, for one, each athlete is different. Like, that's what you're going to get with track and field. Like, even each athlete within each event group is different. So for me, I can kind of break down a week. So Sunday is our big lift day. We lift twice a week, but Sunday is the day where we get the bulk of our lifting in. And we're going to do cleans. We're going to do either safety squat or a top band squat or front squat. We're going to do bench, either a regular bench or a top band bench. And then those are going to be our main three. And then we're going to go into our auxiliaries. It's going to be maybe overhead press or a 45 incline dumbbell press, like a dumbbell hammer complex, like those like YSTs, stuff like that. Lat pulls. There's something called like a 4-way hip to work out our hip machine, work out our hips and stuff. 4-way hip machine. Maybe a leg press, a leg curl. And we always do core. Always do hyper extensions for our back. And that's about it. But like the main three that gets us very strong is going to be those cleans, that squat, and that bench. Like that is the backbone to our workouts. And then auxiliaries, they just vary on the day, but it's going to be a couple upper body, a couple lower body, and that's about it. And reps are very important too. So we might have high reps on our main three or low reps on our main three. It depends on how our body reacts and what we have going on at the end of the week. Like for me personally, if I have a meet at the end of the week, I'm probably going to go like sets of 5s and 3s. Like we'll always have 5 sets, and then I'll do like 5 reps and then 2 sets at 3 reps, because I'm someone who needs more of that fast twitch. Now somebody else, who might be a bigger or stronger than me, they might need a lot more reps to get their nervous system going. It just depends on how the body reacts. So that's pretty much how Sunday works. And then Monday through Wednesday we throw. And no lifting on those days. Since I'm primarily just a hammer thrower, I throw hammer all those days. And we throw different implements. So we never throw our competition weight ever. That's just how Coach John works, and it really does operate well. But we always overtrain. Like we go heavy in weight, and then we go light in weight. And the first day of the week for me, I typically throw my heavier ball set, but we always have like a light one. So like I'll throw like an 18 pound, um, like an 18 pound 6K, and then like a 3K. And then on Tuesday, I would throw um, a 16 pound, a 12 pound, a 3.5, and a 2K. And then like the day before the meet, like I'll throw a 7K and a 3K. Now, like depending on how we try and PR each of those numbers every practice or get close to our PR, so that's how you can kind of tell where our what we're going to look like at the end of the week. Wednesday is kind of more like our indicator days where depending on how far like I throw a 3K is depending on how far I can throw a 4K, which is our comp weight in competition. Just with the added adrenaline, it can add a lot. So that's typically our indicator. And Thursday, we're back in the weight room with a light and fast day, just 3 lifts. We do, depending on the person, but what I do 5 sets of 3 on hang cleans, 5 sets of 3 on a half rack deadlift. No, sorry, half rack squat, and 5 sets of 3 on a bench. And they're just quick, fast, explosive movements just to kind of shock our nervous system back in. And competition days are Friday and Saturday. And hammer is always on Friday for most meets. Yeah, that's how it works. Most people think like we lift a lot more. At other schools, they do lift a lot more, but we lift hard and heavy on Sunday, and it typically takes us the entire week to recover.
Is there any, I won't say like look up to, but is there any like peers or anybody, any Olympians that you kind of watch and maybe just enjoy watching what they do in terms of, the same realm of the work that you do, or maybe try to take some of their work and kind of put it to yours? Is there anybody like that you kind of watch and just kind of depict a lot of what they do and enjoy watching what they do in terms of out there being on the field?
Mm-hmm. I would say I'm very lucky being here, given that my coach has coached many Olympians and many elite athletes. So Jelani Davis, she's still here working out with us, and Janaea Stewart as well. She's still here that works with us, and I look up to them a lot. They are very determined people. They are always showing up for themselves and always putting in the work. And they push me. Being able to practice among elite athletes, it's very rare. And I've been fortunate enough to be able to take advantage of the opportunity, asking them questions when I can, and just watching them and trying to adapt, things that they do to my own technique. But the thing is about like hammer, like everybody's different. Though the main thing looks the same, if you look very closely, everybody does different things. So, and it's always on a continuum. Like something that worked for 4 months can all of a sudden not work after those 4 months, and now you got to figure out something else to bring it back. But I definitely look up to them. They're determined people. They work very hard. Also, Deanna Price, she will come down here and throw with us sometimes. She was at our home meet in April too, so it's very nice to see her throw and her just being around the team. And it just also one shows that like you can get there too. Like that life is kind of in reach. Like we have the same coach, and though people's body types are different and their strength is different, but they're always there to kind of motivate us and just tell us to keep our head in the game. Like if you do what you need to do, if you work hard, if you show up for yourself, like you too can be an elite athlete going pro and stuff like that, and you can be successful.
You kind of mentioned it a little earlier, but just I want to ask you, what do you do in terms of taking care of yourself? You kind of talked about your mental earlier, and you had a panic attack at one point in your life as well. For you, what do you do in terms of just keeping your head space clear and making yourself happy and doing things you love? Like, what do you do outside of your throwing career to make you who you are?
I'm a huge movie watcher.
Okay.
Like movies are my thing. I like to watch them and kind of escape into them. Um, I'm a little bit of an old school soul, I would say. I'm always watching the older, and like I call them like older like black movies and stuff like that. Love Jones is my favorite movie ever. Um, I also like listening to music on vinyl. That's my thing. Music also kind of brings me back center. What else? Honestly, just being around my friends like makes me very happy. Like we don't have to do much. We could just be sitting on the couch
Yeah.
or sitting in the kitchen playing spades and I'm happy. Like that's all I could ever want. But also my faith too, just going stronger in that journey. Watching sermons when I can, prayer, devotional, reading the Bible. Those are things that just kind of help me shape who I want to be. And they also bring me joy. They allow me to put things in perspective. Bible and sermons give a lot of great advice that I take into my life constantly. Me and my friends just recently started playing pickleball. That has been very fun, to keep our bodies active and moving. But we're all competitive people, and it's nice to be competitive in something that's has um, less stress, I would say. And we can just hang out and be be competitive in that sense. But main thing for me, I do not do a whole lot out of throwing. And sometimes I think I can be kind of a boring individual, honestly, because, I do my schoolwork, I throw, I come home, but honestly, I don't need a lot to make me happy. I like having new experiences, like trying new food spots or just going somewhere and sitting out there that I've never been before. I love like outdoor scenery. I could sit out and stare into water for 2 hours, honestly, and just sit there and think. But yeah, movies and music, especially the oldies, I love them. They're just, I don't know, it's like watching a hug, if that makes sense. Like it just it just feels so warm. Like one of my favorite sitcoms is A Different World. Like I love watching that show on a repeat. And it's just, I don't know, it reminds me that life doesn't have to be so stressful, I guess. Like it represents a world where things were changing and there was so much going on, but in the midst of it all, like people were having fun and there was love and there was change being made. Like people had purpose and drive and desires. And it's just the show, I feel like it just represents so much life, especially within the Black community and the power and all that we can do and stuff like that. But they're warming to me. Same with my music. I'm always listening to Etta James or Prince and even a little bit of Tupac. But yeah, it's just
Okay.
it's
Okay.
nice. Mm-hmm.
I like an Etta James shout. I don't know, not too many people know about Etta James. I like that one. Okay. I also have to. I offer this challenge to Kyla McLaurin a few episodes ago, but since you brought up pickleball, I do now, and I have to challenge you at some point to a pickleball match. We'll figure out that later down the road.
Gotta practice.
You talked about it, but I kind of want to directly ask you. You've been here so far for 2 years now. Just what's Oxford been like for you? How's Oxford treated you? What has this experience been in a completely new environment for you over the last couple of years?
Mm-hmm. I think Oxford has treated me very well. I did not know what to expect at all coming here, especially coming down south. A lot of people think Virginia is the South, but I'm in Northern Virginia. I am not in the South in any way, in my opinion. Um, but like I said earlier, just everybody here is so loving, very kind. There's not a day I walk down the street and a stranger will literally stop and just ask me how I'm doing. Like it's different here for sure. I like that it's a small college town and I like that there is not like so much going on. Um it's just been it's been great. I like the opportunities that the university provides, like the different organizations and stuff on campus. I've been trying to challenge myself to get more involved in school, but that is a conversation for another day. I need to put more effort into that. But professors are always very nice and open and welcome. like I said, like I feel like the people are what make this college town so great, honestly. Um, I can't say it enough. Like everybody here is just so welcoming and loving, and just the scenery here is just calm. Like it is a breath of fresh air. Like I feel comfortable just walking around wherever, and I don't think that anything would happen. Like, but it's like also like one big circle
Yeah.
too, you know. So sometimes I do feel like I need to get away, but traveling for track meets I do in a sense, but Oxford, I definitely think has become like a second home for me. I love coming back here. Um, it's just familiar and it's easy to get familiar with. And knowing that, I have a place to come back to that I feel comfortable, like it means a lot to me. And I think has definitely made my college experience a lot easier too.
With summer approaching, what does your summer look like in terms of getting ready for your next year for you in terms of just coming off a season that you really weren't able to be too active? Like, what does your summer look like for you this year?
Well, hopefully I am in the summer internship program that Raven and Dante run. They work out of FedEx. So I will be here the majority of the summer doing an internship. I'm not really sure where I'm placed yet, but waiting to hear back on that. So fingers crossed. But really just training. The coaches will be in and out. Over the summer, there are a lot of various meets you can go to. A lot of professional meets that some of the other athletes will probably be going to, because you have SECs, regionals still happening. You still have nationals happening. It's a U20 year, so some of the athletes that are eligible for that, they'll be competing in Oregon, and then you have U23s. That's a whole nother thing. So like coaches will kind of be in and out, but I'll be taking this time to train and do this internship. So it'll just be typically what I do during the year, but just without the schoolwork, but the work with the internship and just taking this time to better myself, get stronger, remain healthy, stay healthy, of course, and refining and perfecting my craft.
One few last questions, but one thing I kind of was intrigued to ask you because I know you have a brand ambassador deal and et cetera, et cetera. I want to ask you just for you personally, you may not even have much of a kind of opinion or thought on this, but how has NIL been for your landscape in terms of the work that you do, and maybe how have you kind of seen it maybe positively or negatively affect your work and which and the people around you, maybe the work environment in general?
Mm-hmm. Well, what's the one thing about the ambassador deal I had? It actually that's not an NIL that I had, but just something I did. The School of Applied Science has sent out the email for people to be ambassadors for the Memphis Grizzlies, which that was a really cool opportunity to be able to do. It is now over, but overall NIL is like you will get from it as much as you put into it, in my opinion. So definitely being a track athlete, opportunities are more limited, and it more becomes about social media popularity, in my opinion, than what you actually do on the track or on the field. So now that's not everybody's experience,
Yeah,
but now doing better on the track and on the field, like you will get a more following. But it really does matter to these organizations and people who are making these deals. Like it kind of matters who you can reach. So I think like overall, like I think it's challenging people to kind of step out of their comfort zones and posting a lot more of their themselves and their lifestyle on social media, or what they want their social media to say or portray. So I know like a lot of like some athletes, they are leaning towards their faith and posting a lot more about their faith, and in turn they're getting more NIL deals on that
yeah,
sense of their life. So but like I said, you'll get out of it what you put into it. Like it's going to be a lot of extra work. It's going to be almost like a second job, because you have to first work to build your following and take advantage of small opportunities first. Because I mean, just like anything, they're going to start small, but you can start to kind of build that platform to show these companies that you can promote something. For me, more NIL deals is something that I would like to have, but like I said, like I'm going to have to put more work into that and building my own following, reaching out to different companies and stuff like that. Because being a track athlete, it just does not come as easily as it does some more of the more high profile uh, sports.
Thank you. One of the last things I kind of also ask is two questions in one, so stick with me. But first, you've talked about so many different things, but in just kind of more direct and specific point, what advice would you want to give someone to watching or listening, and just in terms of life in general, and maybe something you would want to give to someone to just take on with their day and with their lives? And secondly, is legacy. I'm really, really big on that, and it's part of what I do, why I do what I do, why I do things that I love, and so I want to ask you, what do you want your legacy to be? When people hear the name Naomi Woolfolk, what do you want people to always remember about who you were as a person?
Okay, first I'll start with the advice. I would just say be present. I can't remember where I heard this, but it's called the present because it is a gift. And always looking ahead to the future. One, it's not bad to be prepared at all. But I think that where this world and our society is like going, like there is so much like happening in the future and there are so many things changing. And I think a lot of people are constantly preparing for that change and missing out what is happening in front of them. I would say being more present in your life, I think that you will see a huge shift in the way your life is going because a lot of people do miss good things that are in front of them, whether it's people or opportunities or just better circumstances. Like, you only have one life, and me personally, I don't want to live my life constantly worrying about what's happening next. I want to be in my life and experience what's happening to me right now. And I think that's also something that I'm holding on to just in this college experience. I'm only here for 4 years and I want to make it, a memorable 4 years. And I don't want to leave this place hoping that I did something different or hoping that I wish I would have said something to somebody or I wish I would have, just done something differently. But yeah, like it's hard, I think, for people to do that if you really think about your life and how you do live it. Because I've even struggled with it just sitting there and being focused in the present because of course you're always going to want to be prepared for things and you're never going to want to get caught off guard. And I'm not saying not be prepared, but at the same time find a way to live your life and to be there and to not miss the things that are meant for you.
Thank you. I have one more part that I've been kind of including in this fifth season. I started at the end of the fourth season. It's called Quick Hitter. So I'm just going to ask you a question. And just the first thing that comes to your mind, give you your answer. So just you just do that, okay? So first is, what would your dream car be?
Oh, a G-Wagon.
Okay. Favorite music artist right now?
Bill Withers.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I like that. Dream vacation spot.
Dominican Republic.
Okay. This one makes people think, but if you could have dinner with three people, dead or alive, who would they be?
Barack Obama.
Okay.
Um, um, hmm. Kobe Bryant.
Okay. I like this table.
And Etta James. I'm saying that she's just on my mind right now. So yeah, Etta James.
I love that table. I love that a lot, actually. It's three amazing people that I have Kobe's book and Barack Obama's book up there, and I'd rather go blind by Etta James was one of my favorite songs ever. So
Mine
I
too.
love that. I love that. Favorite food?
Anything that has to do with pasta.
Okay, I like that. If you weren't pursuing a career in what you're doing, what would you be doing?
Mm. Like,
If you
like
weren't
it,
being, if you weren't an athlete, what would you want to do?
Probably working with kids in some capacity, like young kids.
Okay. Favorite song right now?
Oof, I'm so bad at song titles.
You good?
Um, Love Is, I forget the artist name, but it's a gospel song about the love of God. It's called Love Is.
Okay. And final question is, if you could see one person that you would like to join me on the show with, who would they be? But the trigger is you have to help me get that person on the show.
Okay. I would say my teammate, Akoma Odaluga.
Okay.
She has a lot to say, and I think you would enjoy her, honestly.
Okay. All right, Akoma. You heard her here first. We'll got to see you soon, hopefully. Any shout outs you want to give to anyone, Naomi?
Um, just say shout out to my parents for supporting me on my journey here. Both my coaches here at Ole Miss and my uncle Russell, who has helped me through everything, and Coach Rodney for bringing me to this place in my life.
Cool. Thank you so much for joining me. Give me a little bit of your time today. I enjoyed this a lot. Like I said, you speak a lot of life. I don't know if you realize that or anyone's ever told you that, but you speak a lot of life. So thank you for sharing your journey, your wisdom, your experience, your advice, because you're changing someone's life, whether you realize it or not. So continue doing that. And from me and from all my love and family and supporters, we got your back. So we wish nothing but the best for you. But again, thank you so much for joining me and being so open and authentic with your story today.
Yes, thank you. I really enjoyed it. You definitely challenged me today, but I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Of course, anytime. And again, if you guys are new here, please subscribe. Make sure, hold on, I got it on. Y'all go get you some merch. We got everything officially live and up. So go get you a half zip, sweatshirt, t-shirt, get it all. We got some more things in the work for the summer as well. So stay tuned and make sure you go get you some merchandise. Appreciate you guys. All love. God first. God bless. Amen.